In Richmond, churches retrace the path of the enslaved to confront their own history. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Add AP News on Google. Add AP News as your preferred source to see more of our stories on Google. Share Richmond var. RNS. From 1830 to 1860, tens of thousands of enslaved people disembarked ships at Richmond's Manchester docks, an entry point into a bondage system that built Virginia's wealth and shaped the city's history. Shackled together, the enslaved people trudged along a muddy trail connecting the docks to the city's auction house, where they were sold and bought as property. Today, the path, known as the Slave Trail, is part of a citywide walking tour exploring Richmond's role as a major hub of the domestic slave trade, as about 20 Virginians marched in line, in silence over the muddy trail on Saturday, June 13. Some clinging to one another to understand the experience of enslaved people who walked the trail in chains. A gospel singer performed the African-American spiritual wade in the water alongside them. Walking silently, Renee Munford, who is black, said she felt her ancestors. The 65-year-old wondered what they thought as they walked, whether they were afraid, confused, or both. At some point, she cried, "Every time I looked out at the water, all I could see was people coming in on ships and disembarking, and just in a frenzy, so my heart bled for that," she said. This content is written and produced by Religion News Service and distributed by the Associated Press. RNS and AP partner on some religion news content. RNS is solely responsible for this story. Read more. The Silent Walk was the first part of a historical and spiritual pilgrimage through Richmond led by two local Episcopal churches. The gathering, called Walking with the Enslaved, the church's role in slavery pilgrimage, seeks to cover the city's racial history from the steps of Virginia's state capitol to a notorious 19th-century slave jail to Richmond's first African church. The day-long retreat grew out of a partnership between St. Paul's Episcopal Church, Virginia's largest Episcopal parish that was once attended by Confederate Army Gen. Robert E. Lee and Confederate President Jefferson Davis, and St. Philip's Episcopal Church, one of the South's oldest black Episcopal churches, founded in 1861 by enslaved and freed Richmonders. The two congregations designed the experience centered on stories of enslaved people and enslavers, prayer, and African-American spirituals, which they hope will make for a transformative and eye-opening encounter for all who take part. Just as the country prepares to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence and Juneteenth, the commemoration of when enslaved people of Galveston got news of their liberation on June 19, 1865. These Episcopalians are trying to reckon with the role of their city and their denomination in slavery as a founding reality of the United States. The church's collaboration reflects both the Episcopal Church's racial reconciliation focus, announced in 2016 by then presiding Bishop Michael Curry, the first African-American to lead the denomination nationally, and a broader citywide effort to confront the city's slave-trading past. St. Paul's and St. Philip's, both of whose histories were shaped by Richmond's role as a major slave-trading center and the capital of the Confederacy, are hoping to translate these efforts into personal transformation. Before they embarked on the pilgrimage, the group gathered for an introduction session at St. Philip's. Nikki Fernandez, one of the tour's docents, reminded them of the day's spiritual goal. "We hope you leave this pilgrimage with something, and that the Holy Spirit will guide what that something is," said Fernandez, a Virginia native and a Ph.D. candidate at the University of Pittsburgh. Walking through these historic sites is more likely to transform people and help the history solidify in their minds than something less immersive, said Jerry Gilbert, one of the pilgrimage's co-chairs and a vestry member at St. Paul's. "That may be what people would call the ancestors talking to you, or the place talking to you, but I think it really happens because I felt it happen," Gilbert told RNS in an April interview. Many participants had heard about the pilgrimage through the churches. The project started at St. Paul's and took off after the congregation reached out to St. Philip's to collaborate. Gilbert said, The church needed a non-white majority partner to improve the walks. We knew that sometimes white privilege is very blind to seeing all of the aspects of a situation when race is involved, he said. St. Paul's, perched on Richmond Hill near the Virginia capital, traces its roots to monumental church established in 1814 by prominent Richmonders, nearly all enslavers, according to the church's website. During a tour stop on Richmond Hill, Glyn Hughes, another docent, stressed that the freedom ideals that fueled America's founding collided with Virginia's reliance on slave trading and its leaders' affiliation with Episcopal and Presbyterian churches. In front of the state capitol, which once held church services for Presbyterians and Episcopalians, but also served as the Confederate States Congress during the Civil War, Hughes invited participants to think about how they were mingling Christian values to their ideals. After the 2015 killing of 9 black worshippers at Mother Emanuel A.M.E. Church in Charleston, South Carolina, St. Paul's started examining its own racist past. 5 years later, the church removed Confederate symbols from the sanctuary, shedding the most visible reminders of its support for the Confederacy and cutting off its embrace of lost cause ideology after the Civil War. T. Phillips, nestled in Richmond's north side, has served as a refuge for black Richmonders through the Civil War, the Jim Crow era, and today. Despite its prominence for the city's black Episcopalians, the church didn't gain full representation at the Diocesan Convention until 1937. The church's partnership has been transformational, said Crystal Green, a co-chair of the project and a member of St. Phillips. It's part of a healing process that is 400 years in the making, so it's transformed our lives, our worship styles, and it's also built a lifetime of friendships. Beginning at the slave trail shapes participants' experience of the pilgrimage's 9 remaining stops, organizers noted. The recovered stories of black Richmonders also ensure participants center the perspectives of enslaved people during the pilgrimage. At the 5th stop, the First African Baptist Church, Fernandez recounted the story of Henry Box Brown, a member of the congregation born into slavery on a Louiseur County plantation. In 1849, Brown escaped by shipping himself to Philadelphia in a wooden box to reach freedom in the North. The tour cultivates a sense of sacredness through prayers, silent reflections, and songs. The pilgrimage's opening prayer, which invites participants to leave the familiar, the comforting, the known to find a deep